Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video. So the NBA playoffs are officially upon us, and obviously, what does that mean? That means we have to make a playoff prediction video. We got to fill out our playoff bracket. Now, obviously, today, at the time of making this video, the full field of 8 for each conference hasn't been decided. We do still have two play-in games left. Actually, I'm sorry, we have 4 play-in games left for that 8th seed. That's still to be determined, but honestly, I don't think for me, that's going to really factor into the playoffs. Spoiler alert, I just thought, let's just get this video out as soon as we can, and let's just have fun with it. Guys, definitely comment your opinions, because this year, the playoffs this is going to be a tough year to predict, because it's so jam-packed. There aren't too many standout teams. It might be the toughest year that I ever remember predicting the playoffs. I feel like the NBA playoffs aren't that difficult to predict. There isn't too much parity. This year, though, there might be, so I'm going to definitely need you guys to comment your opinions, because you can make a good argument for your disagreements or where you agree with me. Any opinion, there's a good argument for it. So with that being said, guys, without further ado, let's give our playoff predictions for 2022. So let's just start with the Western Conference, because it's on the left here, and in the English language, we read from left to right, so that makes sense, apparently. Let's just start with the Suns against the winner of the Clippers and Wolves, which is really the Wolves now because the Wolves won last night, or the Spurs and Pelicans. Whoever gets that 8th seed. Actually, I'm sorry. The Wolves have the 7th seed. I'm sorry about that. The 8th seed will either be the Clippers, Spurs, or Pelicans. I think it's going to be the Clippers. I think they'll win that next game against the winner of Pelicans and Spurs, but I don't think it matters. I think the Suns, assuming everyone's healthy, which it looks like they are, I'm going to go with the Suns to win that matchup. Oh, this website here, guys, I think it's NBA.com. Fill out your bracket, enter the challenge. You have like 8 days to fill out this bracket, so you guys have time. It's kind of like a March Madness challenge. Fill it out, and it lets me pick how many games the series is going to be in. So I'm assuming the Suns are going to play the Clippers. I will say Suns in 5. I think the Clippers with Paul George. I know they don't have Kawhi Leonard, but the Clippers have great coaching with Ty Lue and Paul George, and just a great overall team, great teamwork. They play well as a team. So I'll give them a game, but the Suns are too good. I'll say they'll win with a gentleman's sweep. Then we move on to the Mavs and Jazz, and obviously the big elephant in the room, the big question, the major one and only big question surrounding this series is, will Luka Doncic play? If he plays, I like the Mavs. If he doesn't play, I like the Jazz. I'm going to assume that Luka guts it out and plays. And even if it's not at 100%, I think he guts it out and plays, and he's mostly healthy. I'm just going to assume that, at least for this video. So I will go with the Mavs. What a series this would be. I think that trade to get Spencer Dinwiddie was huge. I think it made their team better. I think he's played great. I think the Mavs have played some of the best. I mean, they've played so much better in the second half and after the trade deadline. So I will go with the Mavs in 6, of course, assuming Luka plays. If he doesn't, give me the Jazz. Warriors and Nuggets. This is another series that has a lot of question marks around it. Will Steph Curry be healthy? And will he be 100%? Will Klay Thompson step up? Will Draymond Green step up? The Warriors are going to be favored, but you know what? Okay, this is a great series. It's going to be highly offensive, but I think the best player in this series right now is Jokic, and like he's done the entire year, I have a weird feeling that he's going to put this entire team on his back. I don't think anyone on the Warriors can stop Jokic. This will be a phenomenal series. I'm going to go with Denver to win this one in 7 games. Obviously, like most of these series, it could go either way, but I'm going to go with some upsets here. I don't want to just go by the chalk. So I'm going to go with Denver to pull off the upset and beat the Warriors in 7 because they have health question marks surrounding their team. Then we have Grizzlies and Wolves, a very, very interesting matchup. 2 very young teams, not too much playoff experience. 2 franchises that aren't in the playoffs that often, haven't had much playoff success or any success in terms of winning the championship. Neither team's ever been to the finals. So 2 young franchises, 2 young teams, minimal experience, so much talent on each side, young superstars everywhere. Should be a phenomenal series. I'm going to go with the Grizzlies in 7 games. I think they've been the better team this year, obviously. They've played phenomenally with or without Ja Morant, but they need Ja Morant to go on a playoff run. I think he will play. I don't think he'll play. I know he'll play, and they need him to make that playoff run because he's obviously their best player. But it's going to be a great series, and it's going to be just back and forth. I think home advantage will matter a lot because both teams are really young. I could see all the games being won by home teams. So that's what I would go for. I think the Grizzlies will pull it out, though, in 7 games. So that is our West. Now we're going to go to the East. The Nets have the 7th seed, so they shouldn't be here. This isn't updated. So the Heat will either play the Cavs or the Hornets and Hawks. And you know what? The Cavs have really had a tough time down the stretch. They have not played their best basketball. At some point this year, they were the 3 or 4 seed. They've really slipped and fallen. They did make a nice comeback effort in the play-in game against the Nets. They did ultimately lose that game. I don't know who's going to be the 8th seed, but I have a weird feeling either the Hawks or Hornets. If I had to pick, I think the Hawks could get the 8th seed. Any of these teams are good matchups for the Heat. The East is so tough because honestly, 1 through 7 and maybe even 1 through 8 has a chance to get to the finals. The East is so tough. Overall, this year for a change, it's actually better than the West in my opinion. The East is going to be so difficult to predict. I think these 3 teams, all 3 of them, I think will take the Heat to at least 6 games. I think they'll win at least a couple games, but I do think the Heat pull it out. So I'm going to say Heat in 6 over. I'm going to guess the Hawks, but no matter who it is, I'm just going to say the Heat in 6. I think they have too much talent, and they are playing well, so I will go with them. They have a really good defensive team overall. Veterans everywhere, Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, deep team, so I will go with them. What a series this will be. 76ers and Raptors, who a few years back in 2019 played one of the greatest series of all time, one of the greatest I've ever seen. That was obviously the 7-game series in which Kawhi Leonard made the shot, the 4-bouncer shot from the corner at the buzzer to win Game 7. This is a tough matchup for the Sixers. There's question marks around them and whether James Harden can step up, but Joel Embiid, I believe, will be the MVP in this series. Man, it's going to be such a great matchup, and this will be such a close series. I think we're going to have a lot of 6 and 7 game series in the first round because it's really jam-packed in both conferences. But I'm going to go with the Sixers in 7 because of one man, Joel Embiid, who I think is clearly the best player in this series, and I think he will put everything do everything in his power to ensure that the Sixers win this game, or win this series. I think he's just going to be phenomenal, and no one on the Raptors is going to be able to stop him, just like no one in the NBA has been able to stop Embiid this year. Then we have Bucks and Bulls. The Bulls were another team that looked so good in the first half of the year, but post All-Star break, they've really struggled. At one point, they were the #1 seed in the East, and DeMar DeRozan and company has been great. DeMar DeRozan's had a phenomenal year, still an MVP candidate, maybe gets a top 5 finish, but he could have been the front runner at some point. But the Bulls, they've kind of collapsed, and the Bucks are playing really well. Giannis has a case to be made for another MVP, his 3rd one, so I will go with the Bucks to win this series. I'm going to go with Bucks in 5. I think the Bulls get a game, but I think the Bucks with the home court advantage. There's a lot of players on the Bulls that aren't that experienced. I mean, you do have experience as well. I just think they're not playing their best basketball, and I think your momentum going into the postseason, just like in March Madness, how well you're playing coming in to the tournament matters, and I think the Bucks are playing much better. They're the defending champions. They're going to have home court advantage. Giannis is dominant. I think they're going to win relatively easily, I will say in 5 games. And then my favorite series of the first round, Celtics and Nets. Celtics, I mean, give credit to them. This second half they've been, let's just say it as it is. The Celtics have been the best team in basketball post All-Star break. The last 30 games, clearly the best team in basketball. Best defense in basketball. Ime Udoka should get Coach of the Year votes. Probably should be Coach of the Year. Maybe I give that to Monty Williams of the Suns, but he has a good case to be made. The Nets, obviously, finally finding their stride. KD and Kyrie playing together for a good stretch of time. Obviously, they're both healthy right now. They're both playing phenomenally, and the vaccine mandates dropped in New York, so Kyrie's a full-time player again. The question is, will Ben Simmons play? And honestly, the question is also, how does he make the team better at this point? Because I don't know if it's a great idea to have a star player like Ben Simmons, at least defensively a star player like Ben Simmons. Is it a good idea to have him play his first game with a team of already 2 superstars? How will he fit in? Will he make them better? I'll tell you this, he'll make them better on defense for sure. But the question is, does he actually elevate that team, or does he need time to develop chemistry with them? I have no idea. And Time Lord, Robin Williams, maybe the best defender on the Celtics, is out, at least for the first round. Question marks everywhere. Man, who do I go with here? Oh man, I'm going to go with the Nets to win this one in 7. Why not? I think I mean, this is a phenomenal matchup, but KD is just on a roll. Kyrie's on a roll. They have experience. I think Ben Simmons is going to be guarding Jason Tatum. That's my prediction throughout the series, and he is, say what you want about him on offense, say what you want about him off the court, his mentality in terms of whether or not his passion for the game, whether or not he loves the game of basketball, say what you want about that, but what you can't deny is he is a phenomenal, elite defender, perimeter defender especially. That guy is phenomenal. He shuts down the best player on the other team usually, and that is Jason Tatum. He's gonna get his buckets, but he's gonna have a tough time against Ben Simmons. Then we move on to the second round, Suns and Mavs. What a high-scoring, exciting matchup this would be. Wow, it's gonna be close. Luka's gonna be tough to stop, but I just think the Suns as a team, their defense, their offense, the Mavs defense is a question mark. It's been for a long time. I think the Suns offense will be too much for the Mavs, and I think their defense will do enough to keep the Mavs contained to some extent, but I think it'll be a close series. I will go with Suns in 6 to get to the conference finals. Then we have Nuggets and Grizzlies. You know, oh my God, because the Nuggets have more experience. They've been to the conference finals in the bubble. They got there with Jokic. He knows what he's doing, but the problem with the Nuggets is even if they win a series, which they could, and they could win 2 series, the problem is at some point, you have to acknowledge you only have one superstar in Jokic and one player who stands above the rest. And at some point, not having Jamal Murray, not having Michael Porter Jr., it's gonna bite them. It's gonna come back to bite them. And the Grizzlies are a good defensive team, especially inside with Jaren Jackson. I think the Grizzlies are a better team overall. They have more of a balanced attack. So despite their youth, I will go with the Grizzlies to win this game in 7. I'm going to go another 7-game series. I think the Grizzlies, their youth will be questioned here. How does their youth translate to the playoffs? As a young team that wasn't even expected to really be a playoff team, or if they were, to barely sneak in. No one expected them to be a top 4 seed, much less the second best team in the West. That youth really will be questioned, but that team, if you look at that team, they have a really, really good team. So I think that sets up a Suns-Grizzlies 1-2 matchup in the Western Conference Finals. And so that's chalk. We're going chalk in the West. The 2 best teams are the final 2 teams. What do we do in the East? Heat and Sixers, the 1-4 matchup. You might as well just ignore the 4 seeds here because that's how close these are. Forget that it's 1 versus 4, 3 versus 7. It's really a mystery to me who's going to come out of the East. It's honestly who's just playing the best at the right time because of how close these teams are. Each team has their own strengths and weaknesses that can be prominent or hurt them on any given day, any game. So this is tough, guys, really tough. I just think, Embiid's been so good for the Heat. I know the Heat probably have a deeper bench with Tyler Hero and, Jimmy Butler's a great player, obviously, Kyle Lowry, Bam Adebayo. But I'm assuming James Harden, I'm hoping, this is banking on James Harden playing well and Embiid doing his thing. I'm going to go with the Sixers to win this series in 6 and get to the conference finals. I just think despite their 4 seed, they definitely have the potential to be the best team in the East and play the best in the playoffs. I think Joel Embiid's probably the hardest. It's so hard to guard Embiid. He's going to really put this team on his back. And he's done that most of the year. So then we move on to the Bucks and Nets, a rematch of last year's conference semifinals, and we had a great 7-game series then. Surprisingly, Giannis and KD Giannis didn't guard KD last postseason. They put Drew Holiday on him. I wonder what the matchups are going to be. But if Ben Simmons plays well, you have Ben Simmons on. He could guard Giannis. That would be a great matchup. Honestly, if Ben Simmons is playing well on defense, I really only think they need Ben Simmons as a defender. If he's an elite defender, let KD and Kyrie take care of that offense. The Nets can go a long way. They have all the potential, and the Nets are rolling at the right time. I don't know. Obviously the Bucks can win. The Bucks have a very good chance to win another title. But you know what? I'm going to go with the Nets to win in 7. I think they're going to get revenge for last year. Could go either way. But man, they're just on a roll, and I think they're going to hit their stride at the right time. So we went with chalk in the West, 1-2, but in the East we have some parity, 4 versus 7. But again, this is one of those years. If there's any year that we could have a 4 versus 7 matchup in the conference finals, it's this year, because I don't think I've ever seen a conference more jam-packed 1 through 8 without one team being separated from the rest. I don't think I've ever seen a conference this close, all put together. So it could definitely happen this year. So we're going to go conference finals in the Western Conference Finals, Suns and Grizzlies. And I think this is where the Grizzlies youth the fact that they're just such a new team in terms of such a new contender. They're not used to being here. I just think right now it's the Suns' time. Last year getting to the finals for the Suns, that year of experience under their belt for those young players especially. Chris Paul had never been to the finals. He got that finals experience, but the young guys, the Bookers and Aytons and the two Cams, Cam Johnson, Cam Payne, all these guys, they got that experience. A lot of them didn't have playoff experience. Now they do. So I think it's the right time. I'm going to go with Suns in 6 to get to the NBA Finals. And who will they play? The Nets or Sixers? I just really hope this is the conference finals, because what a storyline this would be. Obviously, with James Harden formerly being a Net, getting traded for Ben Simmons, who was formerly a Sixer. There might be some confrontations this game, some beef, because, KD and Embiid have had their battles in the past. They've kind of gotten into it a little bit. The drama in this series will be must-see TV. This is just a must-watch series. I would love for this to be the Eastern Conference Finals. But who wins? Man, what a close series this will be. I don't know. I just love Embiid this year. I'm hoping Harden plays well. I think he deserves a shot to get to the finals once again. He hasn't gotten there since he was a member of the Thunder. I think he gets I want him to have that chance to kind of redeem himself after many playoff failures. So I will go with the Sixers to win this series in 7. I think that Game 7 is going to be one of the more dramatic games in NBA history. The crowd in Philly is going to be wild, and I think that's going to go a long way for the Sixers, helping them get to the finals. So we have the Suns and Sixers. In my opinion, this will be the NBA Finals. So who hoists the Larry O'Brien Trophy in 2022? Who is the NBA champion? Another great series. We're going to have so many of them, guys. I don't have a single, spoiler alert, because there's only one series left, I don't have a single sweep in these entire playoffs, because I don't see a matchup that is that lopsided in any series this postseason. I seriously don't. The biggest potential for a sweep is maybe the Suns in the first round if they play the Spurs or Pelicans, because both those teams are significantly below 500. But I fully expect the Clippers to get that 8th seed. But if they don't, maybe that's a sweep. But honestly, I don't see it anywhere else. I think we have a lot of 6 and 7 game series, but how can you not love that? As an objective fan, because my Lakers, who had the worst season in NBA history, in my opinion, the most pathetic, disappointing season, don't even remind me. As an objective third-party viewer of the NBA playoffs this year, I just want to see good series. But at the end of the day, there has to be a champion, and I just think I really thought last year was the Suns' year, because it was a perfect storm. They played the Lakers got hurt. They played the Nuggets, they swept the Nuggets, but then they played the Clippers, who got hurt. It was just a perfect storm. The Suns deserved to get to the finals last year, but it was a perfect storm. They had a 2-0 lead against the Bucks. I just thought that was their year. That was Chris Paul's year. That was the Suns' year to finally win a championship after 50-plus years of having chances, having contending teams. This year, they had the most wins in franchise history. They won 64 games, the best team they've ever had in Suns history. And this year, after losing in the finals last year, now they have that experience. They've built up their team. They're way better than last year. They've been the best team from the start of the year. They have a great coaching, great leader in Chris Paul. I just think it's finally going to all come together for the Suns. And I think the Phoenix Suns will finally win an NBA championship. I'm going to have them beat the Sixers in 7 games. All right, guys, sorry about that. I realized I hadn't logged into my NBA.com account, so I have to officially submit these predictions, because book it. This is happening. Maybe, I don't know, probably not. But anyway, guys, that is my NBA playoff bracket. That's what I think is gonna happen. But honestly, this is just gonna be a phenomenally entertaining, unpredictable postseason. So guys, definitely comment your opinions. It is playoff time, guys. Guys, I am hyped. I love the NBA playoffs. Maybe the best postseason because we get the most amount of games, but that's just me. I don't know. Maybe it's just the bias of the playoff atmosphere, the NBA playoffs finally starting. Definitely comment your opinions, guys. Who's winning the championship? Let me know all your first round or any round prediction you have. Let me know. And guys, if you enjoyed the video, leave a like. If you're an NBA fan, if you're a football fan, baseball fan, you haven't subscribed already, consider hitting that subscribe button. I would love and appreciate all your support. You guys are awesome. Let's enjoy the NBA playoffs, guys. I'm going to enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoy it. It's going to be phenomenal. And I will see you guys in the next video.